Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video here today on Tuesday for Marvel Strike Force. We have the new strike spot to go over here again. I said I was going to do a video for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday talking about this. We're going to do a little bit of a recap of the second strike spot video. It's about 8.5 minutes long. I'm going to do a bit of a summary of what was mentioned in there for those of you who don't want to watch the video, but I will also leave a link in the description down below. So let's get started. All right, and we're greeted with Community Manager Pathfinder. They made a little bit of a joke about how they're doing. They obviously recorded this all on the same day because they're all wearing the same shirt. Hell, I'm probably still wearing the same shirt from yesterday. You know what? Maybe. I can't remember. But anyways, let's get started a little bit. So they started off by talking about the year-long Age of Annihilus arc and the difference that this is going to be from the others. And this one is still going to be a 1 year long thing, just like Xavier was. But they wanted to point out that basically that they're going to be using this new chapter system, which is going to be essentially about 3 months long. You know what? I'm going to go into full screen mode. Actually, this would be a little bit better there. So you can see this, and I'm actually blocking that, so I'm going to remove that. You can see chapter 1, that we're going to be basically having 3 different legendary characters every 3 months, which is going to conclude with Annihilus around, I would say, this time next year, right? So it's a 12-month thing, and starting in April is when the first chapter is. So, I mean, basically pretty soon, right? Which I guess is going to be probably related to, or we're going to start seeing Age of Annihilus start. In fact, I'm not even sure if maybe the Vigilantes, I'm not sure if this is actually the start of the Age of Annihilus, because Spider Society, which was around this time last year, was also the start of Age of Xavier. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt there. And so you can see that they're structured. Now, those are placeholder. They're all the same, right? Those are exactly the same. So these are a little bit placeholders here. Now, powering up these legendaries is primarily going to come via events. That's what Ryan Jacobson said, that they're going to be slowly dripping out these shards over the 3 months. So that's going to be 810 shards over 3 months. Now, these are going to be earned through engagement with events for free, like Lalandra was. And if you want, there was a blog post that was basically recapping yesterday, and they basically said the same thing. The legendary characters were going to be for free, but they did go into a little bit more detail here in today's video, because they talked about, there wasn't actually like a particular a photo or image of it, but they talked about red stars and where you'll get that. So red stars are still going to be done via Scourge and trial events, just like they were for the existing ones for Old Man Logan and for the Shadow King as well. And so those are kind of things that we can see. But what I thought was interesting when they were talking about that is that it made it sound like it was going to be recurring monthly events. He said something that basically in month 1, you're going to get some red stars. Month 2, you're going to get more red stars. And month 3, you're going to get even more red stars. So it made it sound like maybe these are, I don't know if it's the same recurring Scourge or trial event every single month to build on the red stars. Maybe you get a currency right for clearing it, and then you're getting more and more. But they made it sound like there was a free-to-play path forward to eventually. They didn't say 7 red. They said, red stars and more red stars. They didn't say that you're going to walk away free to play with a 7 red. But they did say that you're going to walk away with a 7 yellow free to play, is basically what they suggested. There will just be free to play path forwards to getting those red stars. Now, they were also talking about seasonal shops. This was, I think, alluded to in yesterday's video a little bit, but it was for the chapter. So it made it sound like essentially we're going to be getting special event shops for those particular chapters. So chapter 1, we're going to have an event shop. Chapter 2, chapter 3, and I guess chapter 4 or something related to Nihilus. Maybe this will be like a G21 thing or something or whatever. But it's going to be more relevant to these sections. Now, what is actually contained in there, that I'm not sure. Maybe it's going to be, maybe that's how we're going to get the shards. Maybe we're going to get like an event currency, and we're going to exchange it for yellow shards, or sorry, yellow stars and shards in the store. Maybe that's also partly where the red stars are going to be upgrades to the character. maybe it could be empowered abilities as well. So maybe that's what their intent there is, to be themed around that legendary character and how we're going to get upgrades for them, because they specifically talked about the upgrading part of it and how that's going to be relevant to these kind of seasonal shops. They also want player friendly, engageable content that is not paywalled. And I guess I thought this part was pretty interesting, because I don't know if it was necessary. It was paywall to some extent, but starting it with Old Man Logan, right? A lot of the issues that people had was that Old Man Logan was the beginning of requiring yellow stars for that Scourge trial. For who was it now again? Out of Time. It was out of was it Out of Time at Cabal? I think it was Out of Time at Cabal, right? My memories first. I don't know why my memory's hazy on that one. But it required you to have higher yellow stars in order to actually engage in the trials, and that actually caused a lot of content creator and envoys to quit, because they really didn't like how they were rolling that out, and how it was essentially forcing you to have those yellow stars rather than actually being able to try it yourself and maybe struggle, but it was mandating that. And that also went on with Shadow King as well. They did that there, requiring that later on, so that you needed some yellow stars. I'm pretty sure it was Shadow King. Didn't they also do that for Shadow King? Yeah, but it was a little bit easier, I think, because they made those characters farmable, I believe, before you were able to do that. So it was easier to break into that. Old Man Logan was a little bit more of a struggle. They want to give players the choice on who to upgrade as well. So some flexibility in the events, allegedly, right? In terms of what they're going to do. There really wasn't any other good props. There was one at the end. We'll talk about this. We're going to get there. Actually, let's just leave it to towards the end. There was this little teaser here of Annihilus's face scrolling through across. I get it. Where is he gonna? He's gonna flash to this here in a second. Any second. There we go. There we go. There we go. We'll just leave it there for the minute. So Annihilus is going to be in a team with the other legendaries. And then they're going to be shoved all together onto a team. But what Ryan Jacobson did say was that the Annihilus team is with the legendaries, and then he said plus a couple of others. So he made it sound like there's some flexibility. We know that there's going to be 3 legendaries, so at the very least, that's going to be 4 characters. But he made it sound like there could be more, like 6 or 7, right? Like I guess when I hear a couple of others, right? I guess a couple is at least 2. So 2 or 3 at least, so 6 or 7. Like there might be some flexibility in terms of like why you would want to include these other characters on that team. I don't know if it's specifically going to be one team trade or what they're going to be doing with that. Maybe it'll depend on the game mode, right? There'll be some extra characters for War, for Crucible, what have you. Probably not raids, but something to make some more flavor for that group of characters. Now, there was a question that was raised, or I guess Pathfinder raised, so if I'm a new player and I join late in the legendary chapter sequence, what happens? And they did say that there was going to be a catch-up mechanic, but this is still to be determined, TBD. But they're conscious of this. They want a way to reward players who were playing from the start of each of the chapters, but they don't really want it to be punitive in the sense that if you missed a day or two, if you went on vacation or whatever, that you're not like completely screwed out of something, right? They're conscious about that, but that's their words. We'll see what ends up happening, especially this first chapter, which honestly is pretty much starting now. So we'll get to know pretty soon about what that legendary character is going to be chasing. If that's they're saying it's going to start from April, and I'm pretty sure there was actually a little bit of a like where was there was an image. Was it right at the end? They basically hold on. Let me right there. Okay. So you can see they actually do have some images here in the background. Chapter 3. Now, I mean, place some guesses in the comments down below. I'm not going to be haven't had much time to really think about this or take a look at them. But then chapter 2. Now, this is interesting because if you look at the facade, he looks like a bulkier guy, right? Like the hairstyle is pretty interesting. And for those of you with more knowledge of Annihilus and the Annihilus arcs, the stories and stuff like that, this is something that you guys might be able to point out. And they talked about this. They want to try to tie in the narrative closer to the comic books, such as the teams and characters that are being released. But this is still with a Scopely MSF spin on things. So do expect that all the new teams in the Age of Annihilus is going to take a couple of characters that are comic relevant, and then they're going to do what they, like Orcus, right? They're going to do some like very loose characters to add onto the reworks for those teams. But the new characters very likely will be relevant to the team. Just don't expect reworks and things to necessarily be relevant. Tomorrow, actually, let's just finish up. I want to take this really slow. I have this on 1.25x, so I need to slow this down a little bit when they scroll across for this one here for the first one. You know what? Okay, so there were some comments made in my Discord, and I think these two, I think this is Quasar. And I think this is that other guy that Dying Denethor mentioned in my Discord server. He's like a beastie guy. So I have this little webpage, and in here they talked about Blastar being the most frequent negative zone enemy or ally, and just the type of appearance that Blastar has honestly looks a lot like this chapter 2. Chapter 1, this kind of looks like Quasar, and I don't have Quasar up just now. I have no idea who the fuck this is. But let me know in the comments down below what you think. I think that's pretty likely. Is Quasar even mentioned in this website? This was Screen Rants from there. Is Quasar in here? Once resurrected Johnny Storm. Okay, so Quasar isn't in here, but I heard that there's a lot of mention about Quasar. And so when I saw an image of Quasar in the Marvel Wiki, it basically looked like this with some armor, I believe, or he had like a suit, right? Oh, do I have a... Hold on, let me see if I can find something. Quasar, really quickly. I think it was posted in my Discord server. So yeah, here we go. I got something. All right. So this and that. The armor, the shoulder pads. Come on, guys. The shoulder pads, right over here, the spiky shoulder pads. It's Quasar. It's Quasar. It's Quasar and Blastar. That looks Quasar and Blastar. That I'm calling it right now. This guy, I don't know. He got like a popped up collar. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. The other thing I want to end with is some of the finale stuff that they talked about in the end. Is that tomorrow they're gonna be covering up not covering up the resources and shops of the game and the changes to this and the updates to the game economy. So that's going to be really interesting because that's something that I have been complaining about for a very long time because the stores have been absolutely dead. The War Store, the Crucible Store are absolutely dead. To some extent, like the whole lot, and it needs a big overhaul. So I hope that this is some positive stuff to hear about tomorrow. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Is Quasar and Blastar? I think that's what it is. That's what it looks like, and I hope those are the legendaries that we're going to be getting. Let me know in the comments down below. That's it for now, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.